Hello comic book guys and gals, and welcome to Comic Mag Musings. I am your host, Bill Miller. Welcome to the 5th installment of our Top 500 Pre-Code Horror Comics. By the mid-1940s, some detective and crime comics had incorporated horror motifs, such as spiders and eyeballs, into their graphics, and occasionally featured stories adapted from the literary horror tales of Edgar Allan Poe or other writers, or stories from the pulps and radio programs. The single-issue Harvey Comics Anthology's front-page comic book from 1945, bearing a cover with a knife-wielding skeletal ghoul, and Strange Story from July of 1946, introduced writer-artist Bob Powell's character, the Man in Black, an early comic book example of the type of omniscient observer host used in such contemporary supernatural and suspense radio dramas as Inner Sanctum, Suspense, and The Whistler. Comic book horror had its roots in the pulps, where narratives of young women assaulted by weird menaces had filled magazines such as Terror Tales and Horror Stories for years. Variations on Gothic fright had also appeared in several comics. Suspense Comics, which began in 1943, Yellow Jacket, which included 8 horror stories billed as Tales of Terror in its run of 10 issues beginning in 1944, and Eerie, which had 1 issue published in 1947. Now, before we get to our comics, let's have a quick reminder of the criteria. The comics had to have been published prior to carrying the Comics Code Authority seal, and the title had to primarily be a horror title. Some of the eligible titles are from other genres, but they switch to a horror context for a period of time. Lastly, these are not necessarily either the most popular or the most expensive horror books. They are simply the best horror comic book covers, in my humble opinion. It was a maddening task to rank numbers 420 to 401, but I enjoyed every minute of it. I made a series of 25 videos with 20 entries in each one. So please join me for the next 20 covers as we count down the top 500 pre-code horror comic book covers. Leading off our list at number 420, we have Adventures into Darkness, issue number 5, from Pines, produced in August of 1952. We're not certain, but it may be George Roussos with the cover art. A dark and destitute image with a hapless victim slung across the shoulders of a hooded figure with his eyes on the next conquest. Bleeding out at number 419 is Weird Comics, issue number 3, from Fox, published in June of 1940. Cover art by Joe Simon. We have an evil doctor who seems to be either readying for or finishing a lobotomy as our hero bursts upon the scene. But is he too late to save our damsel in a blue dress? Haunting us at number 418 is Mystic, issue number 13, from Atlas/Marvel, published in October of 1952. The cover artist is Bill Everett. If it ain't snakes on a plane, it's skulls in the water every time. At number 417 is Strange Tales, number 15, also from Atlas/Marvel. Published in February of 1953. Cover art chores handled again by Bill Everett. There's nothing like an exciting bedtime story to make you lose your head. Creeping up at number 416 is Adventures into the Unknown, number 39, from ACG. Hitting the stands in January of 1953. Cover art by Ken Bald. A fiendish monster animated from a comic book panel will always have a special place on this list. At number 415 is Dark Mysteries, issue number 12, from Master Comics. Hitting the shelves in June of 1953. We're not certain, but the cover artist may be Hy Fleischman. This image hits a lot of high points. A blonde in a red skirt, burying a dead body, a skeleton, and the undead creeping up behind the bad, bad man. Spooking us at number 414 is Chamber of Chills, number 7, from Harvey, published in April of 1952. The cover artist is Al Avison. A woman in bondage, a knife to the head, a plethora of skeletons, and seemingly no way out. At number 413 is Vault of Horror, issue number 18, from EC Comics, out in May of 1951. Cover art by Johnny Craig. Now it could be the garlic and onions that the blonde in a red dress had for dinner, or it just might be the creepy occupant of the wishing well. Who's to know? At number 412, we have Spellbound, issue number 23, from Atlas/Marvel, hitting the shelves in June of 1954. We believe the cover artist is Saul Brodsky. We have a man in bondage and a dais of robe-clad skeletons led by a bloodsucker, not a politician, but rather a vampire. Stabbing away at number 411 is Suspense, issue number 17, from Atlas/Marvel, published in April of 1952. Again, we believe the cover artist is Saul Brodsky. A man in bondage within a graveyard spooked by an emerging skeleton. The dark hues and splashes of purple really stand out. At number 410 is Shock Suspense Stories, number 9, from EC Comics, produced in July of 1953. The cover artist is Al Feldstein. Crawling through the desert heat without water is bad enough without being handcuffed to a corpse upon which the buzzards are feeding. Frightening us at number 409 is The Unseen, issue number 6, from Pines, hitting the stands in September of 1952. We're not positive, but the cover artist might be George Roussos. Great dark colors with the blacks really contrasting with the white ghostly figures. At number 408 is Strange Fantasy, issue number 3, from Feral, published in December of 1952. The cover artist may be someone from the Iger studio. A woman in a red dress, and I'm a sucker for mirrors that reveal the inner demon. This image has a rare 2-for-1 as the monsters get ready to paint the town red, blood red, that is. Fleeing into number 407 is Strange Stories from Another World, issue number 5, from Fawcett, out in February of 1953. The cover artist is Norman Saunders. A wonderful painted cover with fantastic shades of yellow and some spooky skeletons with a man who may have unleashed evil with a spell from his book. Slashing into number 406 is Uncanny Tales number 12 from Atlas/Marvel, hitting the shelves in September of 1953. The cover artist is believed to be Carl Burgos. Sweet dark colors and what may be the reanimated corpse of Richard Simmons, who, by the way, is still alive, sweating to the moldies. At number 405, we have Weird Terror, issue number 2, from Comic Media, published in November of 1952. The cover artist is H.C. Kiefer. I'm a mark for anything related to pirates. A treasure chest and a skeletal pirate are certainly in my wheelhouse. Chopping away at number 404 is Web of Mystery, issue number 8, from Ace Magazines, produced in April of 1952. Cover art chores handled by Lou Cameron. Spiderweb covers are always in demand by PCH collectors, especially ones with unusual looking spiders, damsels in distress, and a skull and crossbones thrown in for good measure. Crawling in at number 403 is Venus, issue number 17, from Atlas/Marvel, out in December of 1951. Bill Everett with the cover art. We have a blonde in a red dress, in bondage no less, an evil woman in a dark red dress, and several creepy skeletons backed by dark green walls. Hiding in the shadows at number 402 is The Thing, issue number 1, from Charlton. Produced in February of 1952. The cover artist is Albert Tyler. Wonderful floating monster heads and gorgeous shades of purple adorn this cover. And lastly, at number 401 is Eerie, issue number 2, from Avon, out in September of 1951. The cover art is by Wally Wood. Skeletons, and a woman in bondage, and the magic of Wally Wood. And that will do it for numbers 420 through 401, as we count down the top 500 pre-code horror comics. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you got to see some books you either haven't seen before or haven't seen in quite some time. Please leave a comment and tell me your thoughts. Do I have some ranked too high or too low? Or are there some that shouldn't have made the list at all? I'd love to hear your feedback, and don't forget to join me for the next installment as we count down numbers 400 through 381.